Everything in this video is based on a true horrifying story, but the details of Girl X's life, like her identity, remain largely untold. Viewer discretion is advised. It was January 8th, 1997, around 11 p.m. the night before the attack. 9-year-old Shavontay Curry, known as Girl X, had slept over her best friend's apartment, Shavontay Fluker, on the second floor of Cabrini-Green high-rise where the girls lived. Cabrini-Green was one of the most dangerous and horrific apartment complexes in Chicago, let alone the US. 10-year-old Shavontay Fluker remembered, as usual, they stayed up longer than they should have on a school night, and it was well over 1 a.m. when the girls got done watching cartoons and playing Girl X's favorite game, school. That night, she was the student and I was the teacher, Shavontay said. The next morning on January 9th, the girls had got up at 7 a.m. This is where things would take a drastic, unusual turn, and Girl X's life would be changed for good. When the girls got up at 7 a.m., they washed and dressed for school. Girl X's friend was still in her room when Girl X hit it out the door a half an hour later. When Shatoya left out, she said she was going upstairs to get her book bag and to take her t-shirt to her grandmother's house. Shavontay would never see her 9-year-old friend the same again. Another totally different 9-year-old girl from another apartment named Shatanya Edwards was heading down the stairs at around 8:30 a.m. On her way to school when she seen Shatoya Curry, Girl X, bent over in the 6th floor landing tying her gym shoes. "We said hi and I kept going," said Shatanya. Just a few moments later, Shatoya Curry, Girl X, would be snatched from the stairwell, and it was just steps from her grandmother's door. 10:25 a.m. Chicago Housing Authority maintenance worker was walking through the stairwell and got to the 7th floor. His name was Tyree Miller, and he found Girl X laying face down with a rag partially around her neck. So he went to apartment 709 and 710 to see if anyone could identify the little girl. Sharon Thompson and Mary Johnson responded and recognized Girl X. At first they thought Girl X was playing around and told her to get up, but further inspection they knew that something was seriously wrong. So they took Girl X to Johnson's apartment and laid her on the couch. At that time, Girl X was unresponsive and foaming from the mouth. Her pants were unfastened, her underclothes were down around her ankles, plus her shirt was tied around her neck, and there were gang signs written on her stomach in blue and black marker. Thompson and Johnson immediately called 911. Paramedics responded within minutes to the call. When they arrived, they seen Girl X foaming from the mouth and breathing erratically. They also seen red marks on her neck. She was then transported to Children's Memorial Hospital. It was 11:17 a.m. when Girl X arrived at the hospital. When doctors cut off the clothing, they noted that the marks on her neck was from strangulation. They also seen marks on her abdomen and clotted blood obstructing her hymen, plus several fresh puncture wounds all over her back. After doctors seen the foul play, the police investigation started immediately. Detective Vernon Bradley was assigned to all number floors of the building, and between 12 and 12:30 he spoke to Patrick Sykes. This guy had lived in apartment 504 at the time, and the police noted that Patrick Sykes didn't seem to be nervous or agitated at the time, and did nothing to arouse his suspicion. Detective Bradley also started looking for the boots that Girl X was wearing. One boot was found sitting on top of a brown paper bag in the incinerator room on the 1st floor. The other one was later found in a room in a dumpster. As many as 125 police officers worked on the Girl X case as she lay weeks in a coma. A list of suspects compiled and eventually contained 37 names. And at the time, James Alexander, known as Raper Man in the building, was the prime suspect, and Patrick Skies was a witness against him. But detectives soon realized that there was some inconsistency in Patrick's statements. So Patrick gave another statement saying he went to the store and he wasn't around at the time that Girl X got attacked. But his story still wasn't matching up, so they gave him a polygraph test. And the polygraph test came back that Patrick was lying. So they interviewed him again, and that's when he started confessing. But this was also a phony confess because he says the 9-year-old girl came to his door and turned on him. But then he changed his statement up, saying in the morning of the offense, he walked his girlfriend to the bus stop. He then says he returned to the apartment complex and went to the 5th floor when he seen the 9-year-old girl. He grabbed the girl and took her into his apartment. He then sexually assaulted the girl. As she began to cry, he choked her until she was unconscious, picked her up and took her in the stairwell, and took a marker and wrote TWS and GD. Plus he drew a pitchfork on her stomach. which all these writings were gang symbols that he wrote. He then took some roach spray and sprayed it in her mouth. And he says he sprayed it in her mouth to destroy any evidence that he left. The crazy thing is that back in 1990, Patrick Sykes was convicted of an attack that he committed on a 17-year-old. He spent 2 years in jail for this too. After investigators confirmed that he was the prime suspect in the attack, they arrested him. Patrick Sykes was sentenced to 120 years in jail. And by 2001, Shavontay Fluker, Girl X, was able to communicate again. She was able to communicate through a system called eye gaze communication. And she finally told her side of the story. And she said Patrick had asked if she wanted a banana. She didn't think of anything suspicious because Patrick used to be outside of his apartment all the time. And that's where she said she went in his apartment and he attacked her. And that day left Girl X permanently disabled for life. She has to use a wheelchair everywhere she goes and she can't even talk anymore. Plus, she had to live in a rehabilitation center for years before she could do anything on her own again. And she still has to be taken care of for the rest of her life. When Girl X turned 25, Jennifer Hudson invited her backstage when she performed at the Taste of Chicago. And up to date, Girl X is 35 years of age. Cabrini-Green was a failed housing idea designed to house up to 600 families. And the construction began 3 days after the attack of Pearl Harbor. And it was complete in 10 months and cost $3.7 million. Only the families of war workers who earned less than $2,100 a year were able to live here, which is roughly around $33,000 in today's economy. It wasn't until the 60s where things would get terribly bad, where on July 17, 1970, 2 police officers were shot and killed by snipers that was on the high-rise of Cabrini-Green.
2 weeks ago, 2 Chicago policemen were shot to death by snipers at a housing project. 4 suspects were arrested. Mayor Daley said he would spend $3 million on security and services at the project, Cabrini Homes, but black leaders say it's typical of all that's bad about low-income public housing.
These are the children of the Cabrini project. Most are fatherless, most are poor, and most of them have little hope for the future. This is Ensign Anthony Watson, who was born and raised in this project. He went away to the Annapolis Naval Academy, was class president twice and brigade commander. He's back in Chicago now on a temporary assignment, and he decided to live in Cabrini again. Watson says
dealing with gang members sniping in Cabrini-Green would be one of the biggest problems. But in 2011, Cabrini-Green was tore down for good. Cabrini-Green has a lot of terrible stories, and I have more to come. And soon I'll be dropping a website where I have exclusive videos and exclusive stuff on there. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But that'll be about it for this video. Make sure you like or dislike, comment, and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments what y'all want to see next. And as always, stay blessed and stay well. Yeah, I'm out.